Hello, Mountaineer family. I'm Meshea Poore, Vice President for the Division of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And today we are kicking off our Let's Talk With series. We're happy to have you with us, and most importantly, we're happy to welcome Felicia Hooper. She is the Behavioral Health Therapist and BIPOC Specialist at the Carruth Center. Felicia, welcome.
Thank you.
You know, you've been here with us for a little while. You came kind of in the middle of the pandemic, is that right?
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that the campus knows you because you're a very important person on this campus. Can you tell me a little bit about the journey to WVU?
Absolutely. So I think whenever I talk about my journey to WVU, I talk a little bit about where I was raised. So I have very, very strong family roots here in West Virginia. However, I was raised in Northern Virginia.
Okay.
But there was always this level of excitement and connection when we would come to visit family that still lived here. And so with trip after trip after trip and year after year after year, my love for West Virginia just grew. Mm-hmm. So when I attended undergraduate, I ended up staying in Virginia for that. It just wasn't a part of my path at that time, but I just always had this yearning and this desire to be in West Virginia and a WVU student. So once I decided to take steps to pursue my master's degree in counseling, I applied to WVU. I had already moved here several years before and I was accepted. And it was just one of the most meaningful experiences of my life. So after I finished graduate school, I worked in the community for a while and then was excited when this job posting came available in October of last year. Mm-hmm. I stepped out on faith and I applied, and here I am today.
Well, we're absolutely happy to have you back home to WVU. Can you tell me a little bit about your graduate, when you were a graduate student? Is there something that happened during your graduate years that kind of leads to the work you're doing right now?
Sure, that's a great question. So like I was saying, my graduate experience here was wonderful. I was a non-traditional student, so it was different than some of my cohort members with trying to manage multiple jobs and different responsibilities. But I think probably the greatest piece of it was the actual personal growth that I experienced through the program. Very, very connected to my cohort members, and the program was really emphasizing growth, emphasizing not just the learning process, but how do we use this process to create impact in the lives of others. Right. And so as I was sat in class, as an adult student, I was that one, I'm gonna ask the questions, I'm gonna stay a little bit longer and do all of those pieces, but really just being able to be in a space that just felt wonderful, where you could learn and where you could grow, that prompted me to really start to think about, okay, what do I want to do after this point? So ended up pursuing my licensure, and I really I think one thing that's great about having been a graduate student here is that I do understand some of the needs of the students on campus, such as being in a space where you do feel very connected to other people, but also within that same space, noticing and really understanding that my experience of this space is also very different from yours, even though we're here together. So it's something that I always think about in the work that I do with students, and just that piece of everybody's lens is so different and everybody's experience is different, and there's so much value in holding space for other people and allowing them to put words to their story.
I love that. And one thing I've always appreciated about our conversations, whether it be by email or face-to-face, is your passion for this campus, your passion for our students. And what I wanted to ask you is, what is the thing that actually inspires you and gets you focused in this space? What's that thing that you go to that kind of say, this is why I'm doing it? You kind of explain, I'm going to ask the questions, I'm going to make sure people are seen. But what's that other thing that kind of inspires you to continue on in this work and be focused in this space?
That's a great question. Really, there's so much that has to do with being a part of a community. Mm-hmm. And for me, the work that I do is really essential because there's a large amount of underrepresentation of Black clinicians within the mental health field across all different positions. So whether that's psychiatrists, psychologists, social workers, counselors, we are so underrepresented, yet we're here. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that can be a barrier for people to have to go through those extra steps to try to find somebody that they really think is going to be able to to see their lens and to help them with the things that they're experiencing. And I often just reflect back on the petition from the concerned Black community here on campus, and I have copies of it in my desk. I have a copy of it that I carry in my work bag, just so it's something that I can look back to, because people use their voices, and I'm sure it wasn't the first time that they had used them, but collectively there was action that was taken. And I'm always mindful of that being something that was really critical for the BIPOC position being created within Carruth. So I want to make people proud. I want to stand in the gap, and I really want to help people to feel like they were seen, they were heard, and somebody cared about them.
And that goes back again to what I said about your passion for our students. And with your role, while you definitely are representing the petition and individuals that talked about need for a Black clinician, you represent a group of individuals that may not feel as though they've been seen and represented. Can you go a little bit more into the different groups that you represent and kind of how you go about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I often talk a lot, and I'm sure sometimes my clients are like, okay, pull back a little bit. But I talk about just the importance of identities. You know, I am a Black woman, and a Black woman first. I'm a Black woman therapist. I'm a Black woman who is a member of the WVU community, excuse me. I'm a Black woman who carries certain religious beliefs. You know, so I really do a lot of work on intersectionality and just exploring those pieces of ourselves, because one thing that I do know is that when people don't feel safe, we fracture ourselves. You know, we shrink ourselves down. We feel like we can't use our voice. And just through those experiences, I think it can be really challenging to navigate this world and navigate a space. So I like to focus on trying to develop programs and initiatives across campus. I am very new, like you said, so still working to really meet more people and to be able to explore different options. But I love partnering with different offices like DDEI. I had partnered with Eric Murphy and Christy Wood, Turner and their staff. I do a lot of stuff within Carruth Center, really being an advocate and using my voice so that we can better meet the needs of the students. Because there's ways in which we're doing that, but there's also room for change and there's room for growth, and I want to make sure that that happens.
And I like that when we talk about our responsibility is to meet the need and fill the gap, right? Where we see that. What's something that you've learned on your journey that you didn't know prior to now?
Oh, wow. How much time do we have? There has been so much that I have learned. One of the big pieces is grace. Give myself grace, give other people grace. No one can be a 10 out of 10 every single day of their life. And sometimes I'm not exempt from that. I show up and maybe I'm a 4 out of 10, but it took everything I had to be that 4 that day, right. And that's incredibly valuable. So the grace is something that I am very mindful about, and I try to practice in my daily life. And I would say probably other things I have learned are that I am capable of so much. So much. All that I require is already within me. I just have to go and find it.
I love it.
You know, I have to tap into it. I need to have like my friends and family who support me or like gas me up so that I can get there. But really, like every part of me, even the parts of me that are messy, even the parts of me that are a little demanding, even the parts of me that maybe people have had challenges kind of interacting with, all of those are beautiful, all of those are important, and all of those are needed in this world.
I love it. I know I talk often about grace. We have a tendency to extend grace to everybody else but ourselves, right? And we beat ourselves up, and we really have to understand that every single day, no matter what your age is, no matter what your positioning is at the university, is that you're growing every single day. You're supposed to be growing every single day. So you make mistakes and you get back up and you go to try again tomorrow. And so I love that you extend yourself that grace and you're learning to continue to do so. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the things you love about WVU?
Okay, and again, like how much time do we have? I just love the mountaineer spirit. I feel like gold and blue has been in my blood for the longest time. I love that mountaineers go first. I love that I am a WVU alumna and I am the first BIPOC specialist. That is so meaningful to me. I love that Mountaineers are passionate. I love that we're wanting to create change on this campus, in this community, in this state, and throughout this world. I love that Mountaineers look different. I love that Mountaineers think different. I love that Mountaineers have different ways of experience in this world and navigating this world. I love people that are completely different than me. I love people that are more similar to me. I just think that this is such a great place of connection and community. And I love the fact that a lot of Mountaineers are emphasizing, how do we support each other? How do we learn about each other? How can I show more respect for people who look like me, don't look like me, think like me, don't think like me? Just all of the Mountaineer values are incredibly critical, to the success that we all experience here on this campus. And I'm a realist as well. I think there's room for me loving WVU, but also being in a place where I'd like to see more change at WVU. And I truly believe that every single person on this campus plays a vital role in progress, in things looking different. And for every single person who, walks up these hills, enters these hallways and these classrooms and these offices, every single person says, I am a part of that one WVU. Not just because you said it, not because I said it or anyone else, but because they felt it and they lived it.
I love it. I mean, the thing is, all of what you said, that we're Mountaineers. Every single part of that is that we're Mountaineers and we're doing this together. And some days we're going to get it right and some days we're not going to get it right. But together we're going to get it together, right? We're going to do this together. And so I love how you captured that. I'm glad we got it on camera too.
I forgot my Let's Go Mountaineers.
Hey,
I love that.
At the end.
We'll roll country roads and we'll hit it.
We're gonna have a chance to do that at the end. What would you say is the most meaningful piece of the work that you do, and how are you envisioning going forward in your role?
Oh yes, another great question. One of the most meaningful parts of the work that I've done on this campus, and in the few months that I've been here, are the groups that I've been fortunate enough to lead with students. I have witnessed healing. I have witnessed transformation. I have seen students be in a space and support each other through challenges. I've seen them celebrate each other's successes. I have seen students lean into the power of vulnerability and say, this is the way that I felt about myself and my experience in this world, and I'm ready to give that up. I'm ready to create something different that fits my life and that's going to set me up to feel differently about myself. I've seen students, and individual as well, have these revelations, identify patterns in relationships in their life. I've had conversations about that difficult transition to college and navigating this identity piece. Who am I? Who am I outside of my family? What are the things that I truly believe? And how do I navigate, all of the change that I'm going through? So I've really seen just a beautiful amount of healing. And I've even seen people that are like, I don't know if I'm ready, if I'm there yet, but it's just the opportunity to start to plant seeds. It's all about planting seeds and starting to cultivate relationships. So those are probably some of the most meaningful pieces that kind of capture the work that I've done. And really, I am looking forward to continuing to do the work.
Right.
Not just to say that I love the work, but to really do the work, to get out there and meet students where they are. I love my office space, but I also want to be out and about. I want to see people. I want to be walking up the hills with you. There's just so much that I'd like to see, and I think going back to one of the previous questions, I really want to see one WVU be something that so many students, faculty, and staff feel. And I think that there's just so many great directions that we can continue to move in when we're working together.
Wow. This has been, I know it's just been a short frame of time, but I know that there has to be a message that the community has felt, seen, heard, and they'll replay it and replay it. Thank you so much for joining me today. I could think of no better way than start off this Let's Talk With series than with you. You have been a tremendous addition to this campus, to our family, and to the WVU community. So thank you so much. And to you, I want to thank you for joining us. I want you to stick with us because this is not the last time that you're going to see wonderful people from across the campus and truthfully around the globe teaching you about things that they're doing to help our campus community and helping you to grow. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and visit diversity.wvu.edu to learn more about the initiatives that we're doing. And like they say, when you know better, you do better, and we all can do better. So until next time, Mountaineer family, let's go!